T. Gray and MK, you are now cleared for flight school takeoff.
4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Here we go.
And by the way, can y'all stop doing shit like that? Because I don't know if you noticed that it always becomes my job to be like the police officer. Like, and that's like not the fun part of flight school. You know what I mean? So can y'all just like chill? What are you trying to say, Kevin, in the chat? It's like a fragmented message. What does it say? T Gray. Oh, you're counting. Is that I'm up to 3? I don't remember 2. I don't remember number 2. I thought there was only 2.
I didn't hear anything.
I don't know. There's a discrepancy in the swear jar count here.
Yeah.
All right, we got some 2s and some 3s. How many is it, guys? How many is it? Is it 2 or is it 3? Bonnie's, you know what? I'm gonna go with Bonnie. I'm gonna go with Bon Marshall. She said 2. Kevin, it's the Houston Heat that's making you. Oh, Erica Williams said it's 3 too. Ron Petty said it's 3. Ooh. Okay, I'm sorry. All right. Well, then let me get out of the way since I have exceeded my limit of
Denisha, I heard shift.
You heard shit. Thank you. Right, exactly. Tanisha, I heard shiitake. I was talking about I heard shiitake mushrooms. All right, cool. All right, let's bring on our superstars. I'm excited about who we've got. Mark, why don't you go ahead and introduce everybody that we've got coming on here today?
All right. Blue Diamond, Jackie Pippins. Come on. Yes, absolutely. Blue Diamond, Jake Parton. Come on. Hey, Diamond, Tier Edwards. Come on.
T, where you at, bro?
Where you at?
There
Come on
we
now.
go.
I couldn't.
That's a reminder. Hey, Mark, that's a reminder.
Yep.
We need to have that background. We want to have one like that.
Emerald, Elliott Ward. Come on. There we go.
Oh, man. What's up, sir? You know what, Elliot? You make me want to grow my hair back again. My hair used to be just like that. You and Jake. I mean, Jake with the slick.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, man. All right, cool. Hey, we're so glad that you guys are here. Last week we did a training on how to present. You guys are at the top of the game. We got our Blue Diamonds here, Jackie and Jake. These guys are absolutely incredible with what's happening in their businesses. They're just always a driving force. We got Tier. And Tier, I just want to publicly thank you as a diamond for your play for the big team and for the company. We really appreciate what you've been doing with Profit Snatchers, and I know we need more people to step up and do Profit Snatchers, but we definitely appreciate you. And then Elliot, if there's an example of someone who can take the system and go ahead and apply that, who can get some coaching and some advice. Elliot, I know what the catalyst was for you, because during Holton's Mr. Bugs European tour, I know that he said something to you and it lit a fire. And I can tell you right now that that was a while ago, and you've been incredibly consistent, and I just want to honor you in front of everybody. But you guys are some of the best presenters, not just in the company, but in the game. So what I want to do is I want to just back up. The floor is you guys. If whatever, I'm sure you guys came to the table with a couple of tips for everybody. And also, let's mind the chats, because everybody who's out there watching, you can ask these guys some questions. So let's rock and roll. Up to you guys.
Yep, absolutely. Who's going first?
Jackie. Go on, Jackie.
Okay, ladies first, right? Hello, everybody. So excited about this topic. First and foremost, thank you guys for having me on the platform this morning. So what I want to talk about is, T. Gray really broke it down on last week. some of the things we should do when we're presenting. So the main thing you want to do is you want to connect with people when you're presenting. And always remember, when you're on a Zoom, is different versus doing a one-on-one versus when you're live. Okay, it's all different, and you must know your crowd. Okay, you got to know who you are presenting to, right? So kind of get to know the person if you possibly can. So I kind of monitor, if I'm doing a live, I kind of monitor the room before I speak, so I can connect with who's in the room. I did a one-on-one yesterday with two couples, and before I got started, I was like, oh, what do you do? I got to know them a little before I actually presented to them, and I was real comfortable. They was like, oh my God, we like you. I was real personable and really down to earth with them. So they kind of got to know me first. And so I closed before I even opened. So that's how you make a connection. Okay. And then one thing I want to say is you got to tell your story. Okay. I always start off with my story, and I make a connection with my story. Somebody in that room is going to heart feel my story. By the time I finish with my story, everybody in the room has felt my story. So I make that connection with my story. So a lot of you guys are out there saying, well, I don't have a story. I don't have a story. I guarantee you, everybody has a story. You just need to be able to package the story. So what you want to do is get with your upline and let them help you package your story. So I'm gonna give you an example of a story, right? I'm not gonna tell my story, but I'm just gonna tell your story, okay? So let's just say you are 30 years old, okay? You're 30 years old, and someone's introduced this opportunity for you. So here's what I am going to do at 30 years old. I'm in front of the room. I'm going to say, you know what? My name is Jackie Pippin. Okay, I'm 30 years old. I've been living with my mom all my life, right? My mom is doing just great financially. She's taking care of me all of my life, right? I'm really what you call an entitlement child. Okay. I hardly even clean up. I hardly ever did what she say. I just took for granted, right? But my mom was always good to me. I later went off to college, right? I went to college because my mom wanted me to, go to school, get some good grades. So I went to college, and I ended up failing out of college because I just couldn't handle the pressure. I wanted to go home where my mom was, who took care of me and did everything for me. So I went back home, right? And got the partying and doing all those things. Well, a friend of mine introduced me to what you're about to see here tonight. And it took them about 5 times because I kept pushing them off and I just didn't want to go see it. So I finally went to see it. And let me tell you, when I got there, I was just blown away. And I like what I heard, and there was a lot of stories that I heard that I could relate to, and they was talking about all this money that they were making, and then the culture was just amazing. I was surrounded by successful people, mentors, and coaches. Let me tell you something. I immediately got started. I went home to my mom and I apologized to my mom. I apologize for the things that I took for granted. And I told her, Mom, listen, you'll never have to work again. I have 2 sisters, and I was the big brother to my 2 sisters. And I apologized to them. I said, listen, our life is going to change after the day. I've been around some successful people, and now my life has changed, and I am going to help you, my sisters, change your life as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, I got started, and I'm telling you, my life is completely different.
Why do I know this story?
Right. So,
Exactly.
So you just learn to package your story and connect with all. See, who I connected with was I connected with all the young people in there. And you guys know that kids feel like they're entitled, they can get what they want, they don't pay any bills, they don't do anything, like that. So as a presenter, I apologize to my parents because I took it for granted. I didn't do the things I should have done, but I got around successful people and it changed my life.
I love it. I absolutely love it. One of the things that you said that resonated with me so strong is that because of the way you connect with people, you said, I closed even before I began. Even before let me read it. I closed before I even opened.
Right.
Which is really, really strong. I put that in the chat. So thank you for sharing that. How about we get all the way around and then we let people answer questions? So whoever's next is next.
Yo. Yeah, Jackie's just full of wisdom, man. Jackie's full of wisdom for sure. Her points are a lot better than mine. I got wrote down. So Mark told me to come with 2 points. My first one is just, I think it's important to stay in action. You can always tell when a presenter's actually actively building in the field. You can tell it's not just words, it's not just dead empty words. I think it's important to stay in action as a leader, leading from the front, talking to new people, even having your own guests on the call as well. It's important. So that's the first thing, stay consistent, follow your own words, be congruent with what you're saying. And the second point was have fun, take the pressure off. Like, take the pressure off yourself. Like, guys, like it's a very simple process, and talk from the heart. And what I mean by talk from the heart is actually talk about genuinely what you're excited about. Don't try and sell it. Just actually, like, why did you get started? Like, actually talk about what excites you, be real. Don't be off scripts, be real. What, how has it been since you've been a part of it? Like, again, people can feel authenticity. It's an energy thing. Energy will always beat strategy. 100%. But I like to have fun. I like, play music at the start of the calls. We get everyone like jumping up, and obviously in person as well. It's good to like dress up, and I think you just have to be creative, man. You have to be creative and just have fun. Bring your personality into it as well. And because essentially people, yes, okay, they're saying yes and no to the opportunity, but they're really saying yes and no to you. And they're asking, like, do I see myself working with these people? Are these people that I can align myself with? And that's why it's important to be honest and come from a place of, if you don't yet have the time of financial freedom, come from a place of, humility. Like, I'm working the business. I'm really excited. I'm learning how to set up different streams of income. This may or may not be a fit for you. You ain't got to come across like, you ain't got to like be a guru before you start to actually present. Just be honest, say that, edify the system, say you're working with some successful people. And those would be my little tips, so far when it comes to presenting. Just be real, stay in action, have fun.
Bro, those are monstrous tips. Because you know what, Jake? So many times people feel a pressure that I guess they put on themselves to be, like you said, the guru. Or to embody a level of success that they have not personally achieved yet.
Yeah, I think if you know that you're not a quitter, like, who cares if today's presentation is not going to be good? You're going to get up tomorrow and do the same thing. Like, it's only if you're like trying to become successful in this business and you're so attached to the results that you dread doing the presentations. People that are in it for the long term and they're actually excited about becoming a better version of them, they'll just keep showing. Who cares, man? Who cares if every master was once a disaster.
Master disaster.
That's
All
it.
right, cool. Awesome, bro. That's some great stuff. Let's hear from Tier, and let's hear from Elliot.
Absolutely, man. Jake really just went right into what I was going to discuss in regards to, be you, but also be confident in yourself.
because I realized like what Jake just talked about, so many people are trying to see what, Jake has done, what Jackie has done, what Elliot's done, what, Darren has done, and they try to implement or be like them when you can't be them. You got to be yourself. Right. So, one of my notes was, know that you are the best at sharing, this type of information and this opportunity based upon your experience. Because everybody's experience isn't the same thing that you've experienced. And if you really think about it, confidence is really an internal deal breaker. And when you understand that you have confidence in yourself and your ability to share it, keyword, share, not explain. One thing when you are presenting, make sure that you're not trying to explain everything, because people don't understand the way that you explain things. But they will understand the experience once they get it. Okay. And like what Jake was talking about, share the confidence in who you are working with and what you are working with. Anytime I'm having a one-on-one or I'm doing a presentation, I am confident in who I'm working with, what I'm working with, and where we're headed. I'm sharing a vision. I'm sharing my excitement. I'm sharing my experience. That's why it's important. Like what Jackie told us, have your story down pat. Ever since I got into this industry, I've made sure that my story is on point. Why? So I can have the H, what Mr. Bugs was talking about, humility. People need to relate to you. And when you don't have that, humility, how are people going to connect with you? So that would be my very first tip. When you're sharing your experience, be confident in yourself, and talk about your wins. I'm not saying go out there and boast or brag about your wins, but make sure when you are talking to people and when you're communicating, what we have, make sure that they know that you've gained some type of experience. You've gained some type of win. You've experienced somebody winning something. You've grown. You've earned some money. You got to share it. Period. Point blank. So that would be my quick tip for everybody until we start Q&A.
Awesome, man. That's strong, bro. Absolutely strong. Be the best you. All right. Well, Elliot, you put the pressure on yourself. You had a chance to go second at least. I know we were
My
going to
list cleared out. These guys have absolutely out. No, first of all, I'm just really grateful to be here. These leaders on the line have been a big inspiration for me getting to here. So just being on here with these guys is super special to me. So I would say I really focus on giving people the experience that I would want to have if starting again. So I always, when I first started, because obviously I went with Holton and really got to get a grasp of how he starts. And he always starts with being very, very normal, very, very normal. He wants to relate to everybody in the room straight away. So on the start of my calls, I don't just go straight into a presentation. I'll make sure everyone feels comfortable with just general chit chat of who I am. Maybe just something about what I've done today, because I feel like it can be a little bit of pressure for people to get on a call in the first place. So when they feel like a normal person is actually talking to them, that instantly can put them at ease. And I find that a lot of people are making decisions very early on in calls as well. So that instantly you're becoming somebody that people want to say yes to more than no. So I think that's really, really big. And like Jake said about being in the field, when you go back and ask what they like best about the call, I always make note of what they've actually said, because in my next presentation, if I'm getting a certain area in my call that's very, very strong, I'm going to make sure that I pay attention to get, that part's really sort of on point and really, really clear. And I think energy sells, like Jake said, energy sells. I get on the call and I don't know. I know it sounds quite basic, but I get smarten up. It's a big occasion for somebody because they're about to change their life. Like, I'm expecting people to jump on my call and get started. So, I make sure I'm presentable. I make sure I'm well lit. I make sure that all the simple things are done well, and that really puts the probability in your favor of getting yeses after the call. So they're really key things note it down and piggyback off what Jackie said. if you've got an angle towards the demographic that are going to be on the call, I think is my signal all right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's good now. Well, it was.
And we're good. Yeah. So I always angle my testimony so that the people on the line are hearing off somebody they can relate to. So I think that's really, really important. You don't want to have sort of maybe 19-year-old lads sharing their trading experience when you've got maybe individuals that are family orientated or mums or dads. Get testimonies on the line that are going to resonate with those that are listening in. So I think they're a few of my biggest tips.
Man, those are great. Those are absolutely fantastic. And that's one of the things that I really appreciate, especially about the four of you. You guys, whenever you show up to Zooms in particular, because we do a lot of Zooms, and when you show up in person, you guys always make sure you have the basics covered. You always look amazing. Every last one of you always look amazing, whether it's Zoom or in person. You always bring your A game, and you are, like Elliot just said, somebody that you show up as somebody that people want to say yes to, right? So that's really good. Hey, so do we have some questions in the chat? We've got some great kudos. Curtis Gooch said this flight school is incredible. I mean, Cynthia said all great nuggets from the panel. Does anybody have any questions?
T. Gray, I want to say this. I forgot to say this. Number one, you got to be consistent in this business, right? You cannot get up and present if you haven't been consistent, you haven't been plugged in. If you out there selling weight loss stuff and then try to come and sell travel and elevate, you can't do it. It doesn't work. Now, on the serious side, it does not work because it's in your walk and it's in your talk. People knows, just like Elliot said, people buy you. Or one of you all said, people buy you. They are buying you. And we can tell when you're not plugged in. We can tell when you out doing something else because it comes across in how you present. So please keep that in mind. And you cannot do a presentation 3 times a month and think you're going to be good. You got to consistently present over and over and over and over. Most of us on this panel, we're presenting on a daily basis. And so you got to keep consistent at it in order to get good.
Could I just quickly add there?
Yeah, before you go, Elliot, Jackie. All right. But that's a really strong point because listen, folks, one of the things that people tend to get into network marketing and then they forget that people are people are adults, and people are smart, right? Just because you're presenting something to them doesn't mean that they're lacking in some level of intelligence, right? And so you want to make sure you honor that intelligence. And remember, all right, get the swear jar out. Remember that everybody shows up to the Zoom or to the meeting with the bullshit meter on high, right? And so if you haven't, like Jackie said, if you've been inconsistent, if you've been out of the game and now you're going to get up there and you're going to try to wing it, people are going to know that, you're full of it, right? So this is where consistency wins. This is why these guys that you're looking at on screen, this is why they win, because they're consistent. I mean, one of the first things that stood out to me in this training is Jackie said, well, I was doing a presentation to a couple yesterday. And some of you guys want to be blue diamonds like Jake and like Jackie, but when's the last time you gave a presentation to anybody? Jackie's a blue diamond. She gave a presentation yesterday. They have a big presentation in Atlanta tomorrow, right? In England, in London, we always see the pics of Jake doing presentations. We see the Zoom pics. We see Elliot in the front of the room. We see Tierre. We see Black Diamond Desi Leapova. We see Marianne. We see Presidential Diamond. First of all, you got to be in the game. You got to be in it to win it. Elliot, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, it's actually just Leo has just put the question. I was just about to ask this. So when I first started actually doing the presentation, it was very unnatural and very wooden, and I didn't really know how to include my perception with the slides. But then the more I've done it, I've done it so much since obviously being with Holton that now my perception runs through each slide. And that's how you start to talk about what you're excited about, because I genuinely talk about what I'm excited about and my perception of each slide. When I first did it, it was very unattached. So I was like doing the slide, and then I didn't really know what my perception was of that slide. But then you get into flow and motion with the two. But like Jackie said, you know, you want to be doing a presentation every day, every single day. And then also, if I'm not doing a presentation, I'm listening to one of the diamonds present all the time, because I instantly start getting it. And you said in this training that it gets boring. When it starts to get boring, that's when you're getting good. It starts to get boring, and then you start to see your results shifting. So that's just what I wanted to add there.
That's phenomenal. We have some questions in the chat for you guys. So I do want to pose that question that Leo asked to the whole group here. Leo says, when presenting, what system of improvement do you use? Do you focus on getting your story right? Then once that's unlocked, you get the product presentation part on point, et cetera, or you just do as many as possible fast?
Honestly, I think when I first started, I started where I could. I wasn't the best presenter, but I could always host. And once I learned how to host, it went into different parts. And part of me being able to present was starting where I was. If I wasn't good at presenting, or I wasn't confident in presenting at the time, cool, let me get good at just hosting, welcoming everybody to the call, or welcoming, a person to, the event. And then I go from doing that consistently to moving towards, now let me talk a little about the product, right? Let me talk about what we have. Let me share my experience and what we've done and things of that nature. Then I would do, bringing up, the leader or something like that. There's steps in regards to doing it, but honestly, the main thing that you can do is start presenting. I'm telling you right now, guys, you're going to be horrific when you start, but you will only get better the more you do it. You will only get better the more you do it. The reason why we're confident in being able to share and present is because, one, we know how it feels to suck in the very beginning, but that doesn't stop us from getting better every single time, right? We go back to previous videos. I hate watching my previous videos. Why? Because I know I got to pay attention to what I messed up on, and I know I got to improve on the next one, right? But that's, again, being intentional and getting better at what you have and sharing what you have, right? And I think another thing is making sure that you're not being boring when you're presenting. Make sure that you're engaging with people. Have a call to action when you talk. I'm one of those people, if you're just going to talk to me the whole time, I'm going to sleep on you. I'm going to sleep on you. Period, point blank. Engage with me. Make sure that I feel involved inside the information that you're sharing with me, because I want to feel, hey, I can see myself doing that. Oh, I want to experience that type of, you got to do that. Otherwise, you just giving a bunch of information and it ain't going to go nowhere. So that's what I was sharing.
So that sparks a question. I was going to give you another question from the thing, but I want to drop this to the group. So what are some of the things that you do to be engaging? What are some of the things that you do to not be boring, and what are some of the things that you do so that you can be engaging?
I like to oh, go on, Jackie.
Go ahead.
I like to basically make myself the clown, if that makes sense. So like I say things like, I used to be that broke, I used to go into KFC and lick other people's fingers. It makes people laugh. I say things like, I got no grades in school. You could spell fudge with the grades that I got in school. Just little things like I make myself look very, very like, silly. So people feel like, this guy was a bit of an idiot. I can become successful too. So I like to drop some jokes in there and you know, maybe comment on a few people that I see, like if you're in the room or on the Zoom, if I see people like really engaged, I'm like, you know, oh, Elliot's loving this. Yeah, I see Elliot like he's having a good time right now. You know, Elliot looks like he's ready to get started right now. Like, little things like that. So but yeah, like I like dropping little jokes in. I study comedians. I got this from Darren. Like Darren is a genius at it. Like Darren is hilarious. And it's literally like watching, like me and Charlie, when Darren does a call, we've got Darren on our big like 50-inch screen just watching Darren. Like, it's hilarious, but we're learning at the same time because he keeps it engaging. The subconscious, it makes everyone relax, and that's really the best way to really get into the subconscious mind when people put their guard down. So I get it from Darren. I noticed that he was studying comedians and all that as well. Because you want to put that sort of characteristics, like sense of humor is very, I believe sense of humor. I mean, Holton Bugs is hilarious. Like on stage, we're always laughing. Like, it's funny. Like, and it makes you like him. And it's like, I don't even care what you're selling. I want to, I mean, I'll share an example. I'm not sure if anyone knows Ricky Gervais. He's a very controversial comedian in the UK. He's got his own liquor brand, and he's literally said, I can't remember the commercial. It's on his Instagram. He was like, this is, he said, I'm an international best-selling comedian, but I tell you what isn't funny. And he's selling his vodka. He said, I tell you what isn't funny. A lady pissed up drinking this vodka, falling on a small child. Like that's like, that is like, but that's how he's selling. And I'm like, I said to Charlie, do you know people are gonna buy that just because it's fun, just because he's funny, like he's hilarious. So he's literally telling people to not drink, and they're still buying it. So he's got a sense of humor. So that's what I do.
I think that's a powerful, powerful comment, right? You said, don't be boring. And one of the ways you can be boring is to be funny. And when you said that, Jake, I put a comment in the chat. I said funny, but with a purpose, right? Because when Jake is up there doing that, and Darren is doing it, and Mr. Bugs is up there doing it, they're not doing it to just be entertaining.
Yes, correct.
You want to think about why they're doing it. I'll tell you why they're doing it. They're doing it to be disarming.
Yeah.
They are dismantling the weaponry and the walls that the people in the audience may have come to the table with. They're dismantling they come to it and like, you're not going to sell me anything. Yeah. All right. What did my friend drag me to? That wall is being broken down by the humor. And so what I want to challenge you guys is that this is a skill, and you guys do it exceptionally well. So thanks, Jake, for bringing that up. That's a really good point. It's a really good point. And I wish I could steal your joke, but it's so branded to you that people would know that I got that KOC joke from you, but that was really funny.
He's correct. He's definitely correct. Joking, you tell a lot of jokes, but like you said, with a purpose. One of the things that we did in Atlanta this past week, we played that music. People love music. They want to feel good. Now, I grew up in a Baptist church, right? And so when it came time to give for the offering, they would play an upbeat song, like, everybody be in it. What that meant was people was going to give more. They was going to give more money. You played that upbeat song, they feeling good. So at the beginning of your presentation, you play really good music, get people in a great, great mood. Everybody feeling all good. They feeling the energy. And then your work is half done. I mean, it's already done, half done, because they're feeling good and they're ready. Okay, what you got, sister? Come on, what you got? What you got? And so, yeah, that energy is very, very important, and telling the jokes throughout. One of the things I do when we get to that travel part, right? So you make 50% of what the person saved. And so what I do is I bring guests up and demonstrate. I put 3 customers on one side, and I put someone that's interested in the business, right? And so I give those 3 customers that $106, that 50% match, right? but this person over here saw the opportunity, right? So since they saw the opportunity, they get the 50% match. So I go to them, I said, well, you wasn't ready. You got to go do your research. You wasn't ready. You got kids. You just wasn't ready. You got to go check with Billy and see if you could join. So I want you to give them their money. And boy, they hate to give that money up, but they got to give it up because they didn't see the opportunity. So get everybody, worked up. Oh man, I can't believe she took that money. Yes, I did. I took that money.
Yeah, and that's a really good like visual example. And by the way, that's another thing, folks, visual examples. Now, while we're on the topic of jokes and being funny, I think one thing we do need to let people know is when to use fewer jokes. I think you're gonna always tell jokes, but there's a time to use fewer jokes. And one of the things I learned from Holton is that the more successful and educated your audience is, the less entertaining you need to be. As a matter of fact, you walk into a room full of, people who are like serious business people, you could actually do a 20-minute presentation because they're gonna digest it. They don't need a lot of selling. Their minds are expanded. They've got a strong worldview. So and they're really going to be of the mindset, okay, can you get to the point? Because I get where you're going. I'm with you. Let's get to it. But when you walk into a presentation like the one that you guys are going to do in Atlanta tomorrow, you're probably going to have a big mixed group. And that's a place to definitely be a little bit more entertaining to get your point across. So that's good stuff. We had another question here. We had a question from Kirsty Wright. Let me go back and see if I can find it. Kirsty Wright. Where'd you go, Kirsty? Wow, there's a lot of, you guys are getting a lot of commentary here. Okay, there's Leo. Scroll. Okay, Kirsty said, what do I say to people when they ask me what I do for a living? What do I say to people when they ask me what do I do for a living?
It's several things that you can say. I show people how to multiply their income. I show people, how to save on their taxes. I show people I was able to fire my boss. I show people how to fire their boss. It just depends on the individual who you have. I mean, why should they get started? What is your reason? Why did you get started? So it's different things that you can tell people what you do. I surround myself with a lot of successful people. They showed me how to make money. My life has totally changed. And now I'm showing others how to make money as well. So it's different things that you can say.
Awesome. Anybody else?
I show people how to make money from your smartphone. There's like Miss Jackie said, there's multiple ways on how to communicate what you do. Again, it's not about what you say, but how you say it for them to get the picture. Because you don't get words, you get pictures. When you have a word, it's going to create a picture in that person's mind to want to know more about what it is that you do or gain the experience that you pretty much have.
Yeah. I just, if I've got sort of like a little bit, if it's just a passing sort of kind of deal, I wouldn't share my story, but I depending on where I've met somebody, I instantly try and relate to them straight away. So if I'm in a shop, I'll say, real good question. I was actually in a similar position to yourself. And then I'll share a bit my story and then ask them a question. So as soon as I've asked them a question, I can then start taking control of the conversation. But I'll start to share a little bit of my story that's just relatable to them. It could be just, I was in employment like yourself, but I'll naturally want to be with them on the same path, and then I'll start asking them questions about their situation. So I don't necessarily dive all. If it's really quick, I'll say, I'm in direct sales and distribution or something like that. If I haven't got time to get to my story, I won't necessarily, because I don't want it to be an awkward, them to be thinking, well, what's that? And then I want to catch up and really get into a story. I don't really want to give them something where they're left guessing, is what I'm saying.
It's funny because that's what I say when I don't want to talk to people. When I don't want to talk to them, I'm like, I'm in direct sales and distribution. Oh, and they go, I'm like, good, go away. But I want to address what Edson from Dallas put in the chat here. He says, if you're not full-time, tell people what you do in your day job. I want to share with you guys how to do that, right? Because obviously we're not recruiting for people to be in our day job, right? So Edson is an accountant. If I'm Edson and someone and I'm not successful yet in Iboomerang, and someone says, well, what do you do for a living? I might say, well, I've been an accountant for many years, but what I'm really excited about is my new business where I'm showing people how they can multiply their money. Right. I've been a school teacher for many years, but what I'm really excited about is my new business where I'm showing people how they can multiply their money. I've been a realtor for many years, but what I'm really excited about is my new business where I'm showing people how to multiply their money. Or you could say that my new business that I'm developing where I show people how to multiply their money. Now, here's one of the things that is strategic in how you answer the question. However you answer the question is fine, but you want everything for a purpose, right? You notice that these four, they're very purposeful in what they do. They don't do things just to do them. They do everything for a reason. The way you answer this question is designed to make a person give you permission to tell them about your Iboomerang business. Because if I'm Edson and I say, I've been an accountant for many years, and he's not recruiting people to be an accountant with him, right? He wants people to join his Iboomerang business. So I've been an accountant for many years, but what I'm really excited about is my new business where I'm teaching people how to multiply their money. And you stop and they say, how do you do that? Multiply their money. Tell me more about that. Now you can go into it a little bit more. And you keep feeding them a little bit. You keep feeding them a little bit. And you keep making them ask you for more, right? You know, so that's there's more to that. We could probably go an hour on that, but I just wanted to throw that out there. So okay, good. Let's see. There were a couple more questions in here. Somebody asked, I don't know what this is. Someone asked, Saskia asked, do you use the V-line strategy in your storytelling? Does anybody know what that is? The V-line strategy? All right. Saskia, none of us know what that is. We've all been presenting for years, but we don't know what the V-line strategy is. So give us a little more detail on that. We'll come back to that question. Oh, here's a Leo question. How do you improve your voice tonality? Go ahead, Leo. Oh, and then I got another question from Sherry Gibbons after that. Does anybody want to talk about how you improve your voice tonality? Okay, let me do that one.
Oh, go on.
Practice.
Yeah. I think it comes from just really studying the people that are the best in the game, like over and over again. You know, Darren says all the time, you know, what you tune into, you turn into. And it's so true. You know, if you've got a genuine goal to become one of the best, you know, you have to study the best and like really study them, you know, listen over and 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 you know, like Jackie said, you have to be plugged in, you know. So and it just happens. But also you have to be very honest with yourself. Like any call I do, anything I do, any live, any Instagram, any podcast, anything, I'm always watching it back and just tearing myself apart. I'm looking for what's wrong. You know, and I just do it all the time, you know, very, very self-critical. I had a very strong Birmingham accent when I first got into entrepreneurship, and Darren, I used to speak super quick, and Darren took the mick out of me for years, you know, and it made me like, you know, be very more conscious with the way that I was talking. I still got it right, still got it. So, but yeah, so it just takes that honest, you know, that honest mentorship. You know, if it's something that you feel like you're struggling with, or it's a downfall, speak to a mentor. Listen, can you listen in on my next presentation, and give me some mentorship on how I sound. You know, my voice, my speed. You talked about this on the presenting call last week, right? You know, the power of the presenting. Can you give me some mentorship and just be honest? Just be honest. Because truth hurts, but secrets kill.
Ooh, that's good.
So Yeah.
You know, Jake, one of the things that I think about as part of the answer to this question is something that Elliot said earlier. He said he gave the presentation so much that now the presentation itself is no longer an issue. All right. So one way to improve your voice tonality is, and all these other little things, is give the presentation so much that you're no longer worried about the presentation. The presentation itself, the slides, you got that down cold. You're not worried about what to say. Now you can start to really fine tune your delivery. And to Jake's point about getting some mentorship on your presentation, Marianne put in the chat earlier that she actually has people record their presentations and send it to her. And, you know, as the leader, she's willing to do the service to them to watch, you know, through their presentation and give them some honest feedback like Jake just talked about.
Yeah, I'll never forget. I never forget. I watched one of Elliot's. I watched one of Elliot's and Fraser's presentation, and they thought this is the importance of mentorship because they were very proud of it. That was fired up, and they were like, "That was the best one we've ever done." And I just gave them some, you know, real feedback. I was like, "Bro, like, yeah, every other personality type apart from Blue would have definitely said no." So just getting that, because what I'm saying is we think that we are good, what we think that we are right, until you get that honest friend that comes into your life and says, no, you stink. No, you need to change, you know, change your background, you know what I mean? Like change it, like just change everything else. So it's true.
That's good. We've got this question for you guys. And this is a combination question from Rubina and Sherry on Facebook. Rubina says, do you use all the slides? And Sherry said, you mentioned to cut the slides, but not the presentation. So how long should the presentation be so I don't overshare?
Me personally, I don't read the slides. That's something I've realized that a lot of new people are doing. They're just reading the slides, which is okay. You can start that way. But make sure that when you are reading the slides that you're not taking a lot of time to read everything. Me, I'm just going to briefly go over the important facts. I'm going over the important things that I believe that this person or the people that's in the room or on the Zoom needs to know, so that way we can move them forward, right? And again, when it comes down to the time frame, you know, 30 to 45 minutes, hour max. Now, back in the day, me and Darren, we used to have 2-hour presentations, and that literally wasn't a presentation, that was a seminar, right? But again,
sorry,
we got people started, right? And people got started, they got excited, but again, the application behind that wasn't good, right? So you gotta work, you gotta find out what works and do it over and over. So that way the next person can come in and say, hey, I can do the same thing.
Yeah. Can I just add to that? When it comes to the presentation, obviously there's a science to getting rich. So if you guys have put together this presentation and you have way more experience than certainly myself, and you know exactly how to get results, let me do it exactly like you have described to do it until I've got enough results to say this needs to be different. So me personally, I do all the slides. I don't talk off of every slide, but if everything in there is in there, it needs to be covered up until the point that I have enough results to say otherwise. So that's my personal perception.
Yeah, so I want to say it is hard to give an effective presentation if you're just reading the slides, right? I want you to go and learn the slides. So number one, you got one time to make a first impression. So if people work hard to get the guests in the room, on the Zoom, or wherever it is, and you must learn how to give an effective presentation. So one of the things we do as a team, we have a system where you got to go practice first before you get up in front of folks. We're gonna practice with you. We have a system, Mr. Kevin Clayton. You go practice with him, then they'll come to me and say, here's the presentation. What do you think? And we'll go over some things that you need to do and, you know, say and things like that. So you want to practice first, because practice what makes perfect if you practice perfect. So you want to do that first because you always want to give an effective presentation when you're in front of a group of people.
You know, Jackie, one of the things that you just reminded me of is that this is important because as presenters, we have a responsibility, especially if you're serving your team or you're serving the big team, because people work hard to get over their fears, etc., in order to get somebody to come see the presentation. And now they're trusting you to do a good job of getting the information across. So it's really important. That's why we're devoting a couple of weeks, 2 Saturdays in a row, to this, because it speaks to our sense of responsibility. Erica Cheek has a question that I want to drop to you guys. And after this, maybe we'll only take one more. But she says, I find myself on 10 from start to finish because I'm really excited to share the information. I know that's not practical. So how do you come off of 10? And I'll start you guys off. Erica, what this plays to is the part of the training that I did last week where we talked about the 3 Ps. And the 3 Ps are your pace, your pitch, and your power. And I want you to think of them as 3 levers, or as the image I used there was a gear shift, right? And you know, if you're driving from your house to the mall in Atlanta and you're driving a manual stick shift car, there's no way that you can be in 5th gear from start to finish. It's not possible. You can't even start the car. You can't come from a standstill in 5th gear, right? You got to start out in 1st gear. And then you get up into 5th gear. And even once you get up to 5th gear and you're on the highway, there's going to be some times where you got to come back down to 4th or 3rd because the ebb and flow of the traffic, right? And then when you get to the mall and it's time to park, you're going to be back down in 1st gear and in the reverse gear as well. So if you think of a presentation like that, there's going to be points in the presentation, places in the presentation where you want to vary your pace, vary your pitch, vary your power to match the information that you're discussing at that time. And that's all I'm going to say and give it to you guys.
So I agree with you, T. Gray. So what are you doing in your presentation? Are you starting off with your story? Because when I start off with my story, I'm not as high pitched as, you know, as I move on. I'm a different pace depending on what I'm talking about. And then also I'm looking at my crowd. You know, I'm responding to my crowd. You have to pay attention to your crowd as well. Like T. Gray said, you might have some reds in the room and they don't want to hear you on 10. They want to hear how they can make this money. You see what I'm saying? And if you got somebody that's green in there, they're very analytical. They want to know the facts. And when you're on 10, it's going to be kind of hard for them to learn the facts. So you got to learn to pace, like T. Gray said, you know, it just depends on where you are in your presentation. And maybe we need to listen to you and go over some things that we need to do and we need to change. Because like T. Gray said, you shouldn't be on 10, you know, all the time throughout the entire presentation. Because don't get me wrong, I want some jokes, but you best to believe I'm sharing these facts and I'm asking for this money, you know, on a very, very, very professional way. So you want to come across, you know, not on 10 the entire time. They're going to think you got a little gimmick going on. So you want to be, you know, very professional, high pitch, low pitch. You want to kind of do it all. Remember, you got all types of people in that room. You got some people that want to have fun. You got some people that want to have facts. You got some people that want to help folks. And then you got some people that want to make some money. So you have to cater to all of them when you're doing a presentation.
And just be normal. Just be normal.
Yes.
You know, just be a normal person. Like what we have is good enough. You know, you don't actually have to sell it, you know, like TS said, you know, we're just sharing it. So the right people, like, think about, did someone have to twist your arm to get started? I think I was following Tierra up to get me started. So, we're trying to impress people, and like, just the opportunity is good enough, guys. We're working with literally the GOAT in the industry, like, and we've got an amazing, you've seen Trade Buddy, I mean, wait until you all see what we've got coming. Like, you're in the best position. Just be you, and just be normal. That's what I would say. Just be normal.
Yeah, I like that too. That's very important because, there's a thing called an affectation, right? You guys want to write that in, affectation, the word affect, and put ation on the end, affectation. And an affectation is kind of what some preachers do on Sunday, and they just start doing these things with their voice. And they don't normally talk like that, right? They'd start talking like, you need to know, and all this kind of stuff. And that is a distraction. You are creating the reason people can't pay attention to what you're talking about, because they are just so distracted by the way that you're talking that they don't hear what you're saying. So that's why when Jake said, just be you, just be normal, whatever you do with your voice and your pace and your pitch and your power, it should be a very close version to how you normally talk. Like when you're talking to the guest afterwards, it should still be similar, right? And if you stop and you think about it, when you, in normal conversation, you vary your pace, your pitch, and your power. If we could put a microphone in Jake's house and Jake and Charlie are having a conversation, I can tell you right now, Jake is not on 10 the whole time, and he's not on 1 the whole time. Sometimes he's like, hey, baby, you know what? I really love your beautiful mother of my child, but I'm never playing golf with you again because you took my money the last time and you embarrassed me, right? I mean, there's just so much different pace, pitch, and power just in a normal conversation. So I would say
it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Like, if you're doing like 4, 5, 6, 10 presentations a week, you're gonna get tired being on 10 all the time. Like, just talk like it's normal. Like, enjoy the process for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. So let's wrap it up. We got 10 minutes left here. I thought I saw another question for you guys. Oh, so with the great question. We're gonna wrap it on this one. So, by now everybody is, or most people have learned the colors, the reds, the blues, the greens, and the yellow. So said, when you present, how do you demonstrate awareness of having to reach every color?
I think personally that, going back to what Jake said about being in the field, I believe when you start off in this industry, you naturally, I personally felt this. I recruited those that are more in line with my colors than outside of that initially. And I think it's the same when I started presenting as well. So if I was talking about my story, I just feel like that's how it sort of started for me. I started to actually resonate with people that are more in alignment with me. And then I started to learn why people said no. Again, get feedback. If people are getting feedback and they're saying, it was there wasn't enough information, or the facts weren't effectively communicated, or from an analytical individual, or for example, I didn't understand effectively how people are helped by this, things like that, then you need to go back and think, okay, I needed to communicate maybe the BÜM Foundation in the slide where it actually mentions it, about the company links, or for example, I should have broke down the numbers better on the marketing structure from the marketing plan slide. I need to be better at communicating that for the individuals that want to see numbers and they want to see exactly how they can win in that way. So for me personally, I think it's understanding the presentation, getting a really good rapport with it, and finding out from the presentation how it communicates to each color, because it actually does, and then build off of that. But I think for me personally, I didn't have a clue about who I was resonating with until I got in the field doing the presentation and I got feedback. So
I think that's really good. And also as well, picking the right testimonies. Like, we very rarely do a presentation. I think every single one, we have stories. So we'll pick like a red type personality. I think, and we kind of just do it subconsciously now. But if you newer to the game, like get like some women, get some men, get young, get the slightly older. So you're literally touching every single person on the line with your stories, and also use tools. MK shares this on the flight deck video. He says, if you're going to send out a tool, make sure you're matching the presenter to the prospect. Like if they're a fiery character, send them Elliots. But if they're more like, if like for example, I every woman prospect, I send a woman presenter. Just little things like that, like just sort of use the tools and use the right testimonies. That's what I'd say as well.
That's good. That's good. I'm dropping this in the chat. Just kind of a highlight. And so you see that when you're talking the reds, everybody needs to hear something different in order for it to be a complete presentation for them. The reds need to hear about results. They want to know about money, and they're competitive people. The greens need to hear facts and information. The blues need to know that it's going to be fun. The yellows need to hear about the mission and the cause. And so you just want to make sure that your presentation is touching each person, right? So you want to make sure that you're talking about an opportunity where you can make some serious money. Everybody can't do it, but if you're sharp and you dedicate it, you might be able to be successful here and make some incredible amounts of money. Now, how much money can you make if you build a team and you start with just 2 people and you create a duplication model where those 2 introduce 2 and those 4 introduce 2 and so on and so forth. You can see how quickly you can get to a team of 100. And if you have a team of 100 and they have X amount of customers, you can make X amount of money. That's why that's in the presentation for the greens, right? But here's the deal. When you get this done, we're going to celebrate you like you've never been celebrated before. Raise your hand if you've ever been in a thankless job where you did great work and it just seemed like nobody even cared. Well, listen, we are the absolute opposite here. We have a ceremony. So for example, when you hit the level of business success in our company called Sapphire, we're going to get you up on stage. We're going to sing I Believe I Can Fly. We're going to give you a trophy, and it's just going to be a party. And when you go diamond, we're going to take you on trips all around the world. But you know what? We'd really be very one-dimensional and selfish if all we were is about making money. So it's very important that we give back. And so we've married ourselves as a company to an organization called the BÜM Foundation that takes care of children and takes care of people, that fights against human trafficking. So we encourage everybody in the company to give what they can each month as they're making money, to give just a little bit back so that we can take care of these children, make sure that they eat and make sure that they're safe. Literally just now, folks, in 3 minutes or so, I touched every one of those 4 groups. And you can do that throughout your entire presentation. Yep. And Erica, I'm just so proud of you. She said great feedback. She talks with a lot of energy, but she's looking forward to working on it. And that's something you want to do, Erica. The one place that you don't want to be, and the reason we asked these 4 champions to come out here today is because the one place you don't ever want to find yourself is on the as is table. You guys know about the as is table, right? Right? Anybody here ever been to a store where they sell stuff and they got all sorts of great stuff in the store, right? But where do you find all the stuff that they're trying to get rid of? There's usually one table. It's kind of toward the front of the store and has a bunch of stuff on it. And there's a sign that says as is. It means there's no warranty on it. It means that people have played with it. They've touched it. It might be missing a part. It might be a little bit broken, but this is what it is. If you buy it, this is what you get. Right? We want to be on the new and improved section. We don't want to be on the as is table. So Erica, great job demonstrating that. Let's go around the horn and let's get a parting shot. We're going to start with our emerald. Elliot.
Yeah. What do I need to do?
Parting shot. Parting shot. Your last words of encouragement to.
Oh, right, okay. Sorry, I was ready for the. You know, that's what I'm here for.
You're
I'm here
ready
for
to pose. You're ready to pose.
Come on, man. That's what flight school's about, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So yeah, for me personally, it's obviously just go and do it. I didn't have any of this specific training. I watched and saw the obviously Mr. Bugs present, watched the Elite Diamonds, the Diamonds, and I just went and did my first presentation, and I just committed to doing them. I mean, you choose your consistency, but I decided to start and never stop. And it's got me to this point. So don't worry about where you're starting. Don't try and be great to start with. It's going to be like Tia says, it's going to be as it is, but don't start and stop. That's difficult. Being all in is the easiest place to be. I think Holton taught me that. So yeah, that's what I'd say. Start and don't stop.
Awesome. Diamond Tier, parting shot, sir.
I like what Mr. Bugs did. He gave us the formula when we were out in Houston early this year, and I want you guys to write this down. HEEM, HEEM. Okay? If you want to get great at presenting, follow this formula. Number one, humility. You got to relate with people. Number two, educate. Make sure that you are sharing something of value before you ask them for money. Number three, entertain. Make some people laugh. Like what Jake was saying. Follow you some comedians. One of my favorites is Bernie Mac. I love Bernie Mac. But you got to use stories to educate and also entertain people to where it's not just serious all the time. Right? And then number four, motivate and talk about the money. You got some competitive people here. They want to grow. They want to get results. But you also got people that are really driven, but they need the guidance. They need something to move towards with. So as you're presenting, use HEEM and watch your results. Watch your effectiveness when you present. Improve.
Love it. Great. All right, let's take it to England. Blue Diamond Jake, parting shot.
Yeah. we've shared so much on. I don't even know what I'm going to say apart from just guys, like, knowing what's coming with the company right now is the time to get good. Okay, don't worry too much about the results. Just focus on taking as much action as possible so you can attract the characteristics, the skill sets, the habits of becoming a successful person. So you're prepared for what's coming. That's what I'd say.
Love it. And that's some strong advice. Blue Diamond, Jackie Pippins.
All righty. Okay, so here's my parting words. Listen, stay the course. Don't get distracted. Don't get caught up in somebody else's posts because they saying they got the best product. They done made all of this money. It's just nothing but a distraction to you. If they're doing so good, do y'all ever see Mr. Bugs posting how good he's doing in trading? That man is doing excellent in trading. But do you hear him posting on Facebook, I done made this, I got this, you better come over here? All that is a distraction. Okay? It's a distraction. And a lot of times it's full of lies. It's just to get you off your course. Stay on the course. This business over here is great, you guys. It literally is. It's great. But you got to stay the course. Look at yourself, right? Don't let me get you off track. Don't let nobody get you off your game. Can't nobody shake my tree. They're not going to be able to shake my tree. I told Mr. Bugs day one when I got on stage, I said, I will be your last man standing. He didn't even know what that meant up until now, right?
Right.
Listen, if you stick and stay, you will get your pay. Stop letting folks distract you.
Mm-hmm.
And then the person that you let distract you, they gone off on another sunset.
So, Jackie, didn't we talk about that this week? Didn't we talk about that this week?
Yes, yes. They off on another sunset saying the same song, and you still getting caught up from that mess. From mess. The last company I was in, they did the same junk, but I stick and stayed.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a big check on stage, a brand new Porsche, all of that stuff, because I didn't let folks get in my ear. Stop it. Stop letting folks distract you from your dreams and goals. You said what you want. You can win over here, but you're letting those ugly people distract you. So stop it to this day. Stay the course. You can win right here where you are.
Man, Jackie, first of all, that's a whole training. We could do this, right? I'm gonna just drop this real quick, guys. You got to understand the dynamics of network marketing income. You're always going to make big money recruiting, starting up, but that's not real money, right? The real money is your residual, right? And so what you're seeing from the folks who are jumping from company to company, and they're telling you, oh, we're making so much more money now than we were making when we were back with you guys, is because they just started up again and they're making that recruiting money. And if they can get you off your game, you become part of their recruiting money. But the real question is the long-term money there, right? And it's so funny because one of the people that Jackie and I were cracking up over is an industry known name who called Jackie a few months ago. Man, this comp plan over here is so good. What? And now he ain't even there no more. Well, I thought it was so good, right? Okay. So in any event, I'm gonna get off the. I'm not gonna take the bait. JM Steele said in the chat, everyone may not be familiar with the colors. Can we have a colors training session on Flight School? In today's episode of Your Wish is Our Command, I text messaged our presidential diamond, Darren Gibson, and said, would you grace us with your wisdom, your knowledge, and experience and do a colors training next Saturday? And he sent me back a fist emoji, a bomb emoji, and a fire emoji and said, let's do it. Next Saturday will be colors training by none other than presidential diamond Darren Gibson, the boss with the sauce. Be there or be square. All right. All right. Fantastic.
T. Gray, you know,
Yes,
one
ma'am.
thing I like about Darren Gibson, he knows how to be a red. He knows how to be a blue. He knows how to be a yellow. And he knows how to be a green. Darren got it together when it comes to, that's a perfect person to do that training because he knows all of those colors and he live out all of those colors. So perfect.
Amen. Because when you get to be a pro like PDDG, you become a chameleon. And that's really that's when you are a Jedi Master. So I'm looking forward to next week. It's going to be off the cheesy. Go ahead and start promoting that with your team. And in the meantime, we're going to take our picture. Elliot, that's going to be now. 3, 2, 1, and I'm so jealous. How did you make confetti? How did you do that, sir? All right, we love you guys. Everybody have an amazing, amazing Saturday. Let's go big. Diamonds, don't forget, I'm going to be looking for you next week so we can go over what this next chapter of HB System Coaching Group and everybody start promoting for PDDG next Saturday. See you guys. Love you. And
Love you, ambassadors.
oh,